Hello, friends. I am the man with no identity, the man formerly known as John Henderson.
Welcome to the Theater of Thrills!
In our continuing story of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, Henry is trying to make right some of the evil wrought by Hyde. It's the least he can do now that Hyde is gone forever. Yes, Jekyll has totally rid himself of Hyde, and he will definitely not ever return and take over his body to terrorize London and ruin Jekyll's life. So we don't have to worry about that happening here in the final 9 episodes of the series. Enjoy.
Ladies and gentlemen, we now present George Edwards in Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
I said as they'd set the dogs on you, didn't I?
Oh, it wasn't as bad as that. The dogs came running out when I came through the gate, but Miss Trelawney soon called them off.
Oh, and how did the old man greet you?
Well, he was asleep when I got there.
Not him. He sits in that chair of his before the fire, pretending he hears nothing. But there's nought escapes his ears.
All the same, he's a very sick man.
Why, not denying that. Esther'll not be burdened much longer with him, unless her looks dead out.
Why? Do you think she'll be glad when her father dies?
It'll give her a chance to get away from that farm there, and which be more than she's done these 5 years. Hardly set her foot off the place since young Sammy struck that trouble of his.
Is that 5 years ago?
Oh, so you know about it then?
Yes.
You don't say. Well, you're the last one I'd suspect of having any truck with a man of his kidney. Never clapped eyes on such an evil-looking customer in all my life. I remember well the time he first came in here. Young Sammy and 1 or 2 others and myself were sitting in the tap room. It were a hot summer afternoon, and we was mighty glad of a pot of landlord's ale. We was talking about nothing in particular, and all of a sudden a shadow fell across the room as he stood in the door. I don't know why it was, but something in the very shape of him made us all stop talking and stare. Sort of queer, like.
When be your father going to start harvesting the apples in his orchard, Sam?
Friday, maybe. He were talking about taking them to Bodmin and trying his hand at selling them around the houses himself.
I was wondering if I could maybe borrow his cart. Them pigs of mine is eating their heads off. If I could take them into market maybe next week.
Hello? What be old Badger speaking up about?
Oh, must be a stranger. I've not heard Badger bark like that before.
Well, gentlemen, what are you staring at? Pray continue drinking your beer.
Oh, no harm meant. We are just struck rather a heap by seeing a stranger down this way.
Whose dog is this?
Mine?
And I'd be obliged if you'd call him off. His manners aren't any better than his master's.
Down, Badger, down.
Look out, Sam. He nearly had you then.
Oh, I can't think what's come over him. Stop it, Badger. Oh, bad luck to you. Will you do as I tell you? Badger!
Let me try.
Look out what you're doing. Stop it. Do you want to kill the dog?
Grab the stick off him.
What sort of a man be you to strike a dog like that?
What sort of a dog do you keep that he'll attack a perfect stranger in such a way?
I've never seen him to the like of it afore.
Then I imagine after the lesson I taught him, he won't make the same mistake again. I'll trouble you to hand me back my stick. Throw it on the floor, eh? Master and dog, both curse. Sir.
No, by Jiminy.
Now hold back, Sam. Let the fella be. He's not worth wasting your strength on.
If it comes to strength, you toothless old scarecrow, there are other things besides brawn and sinew.
Aye, that there be. There be common decency. But what did a man like you know of that? Come, Sam, lad. Let's leave him be and attend to the poor dog. He's got some bones broke by the look of him. So, you can well imagine, sir, that we took no great liking to the feller after that.
No, I don't suppose you did.
Sam told me that it was all he could do to keep his hands off his throat. And seeing what happened afterwards, maybe it were a pity we held him back that day.
Still, if you hadn't, it might have been worse for Sam.
Worse than what happened in any case. Maybe you don't know the story, then.
I know some of it.
What Hyde told you, I'll be bound.
Well, you tell me. I'd like to know what people say about him down here.
There ain't names black enough to call him by. If ever he showed his face round these parts...
That is not likely. You know he's wanted for murder.
Murder? Hyde wanted for murder?
You don't get much news of the outside world down here?
Not much. Sometimes a paper gets brought back when one of the lads goes to market. But this be somewhat worth knowing about. Hyde wanted for murder.
You don't seem sorry.
Sorry? If they had public hangings and I could go to see that fellow on the gallows, I'd walk 100 miles, rheumatism and all.
So he's pretty much hated around here.
Hated? It were a bad day for Marston Bridge when Hyde showed his ugly face about the place. Weren't long before he began to make trouble. A day or two after he beat Sam's poor dog, just about evening it was.
Yes, Mother.
There'll be a storm coming up. Go out and drive in the geese. If them young goslings get wet, they might all catch a cold and die.
Just wait a minute till I put the last of the bread in the oven.
Oh, I'll do it. You've a ways to go, and them clouds be coming up fast.
Be sure you take the pasty out first, then. Sam will be calling in on his way back from Bodmin, and I promised him he'd have one.
Oh, you and your Sam Trelawney. If you'd be baking pasties for Master Wallace.
I don't care for Master Wallace, and that's an end to it.
Then more's the pity. If you only knew which side your bread's buttered.
Did you when you married Father? He were a poor man, weren't he?
And shouldn't that be a lesson to you? Look at the way I've been slaving all my life. And here's your chance to get yourself fixed up snug and comfortable by marrying a fine, upstanding man like Josiah Wallace.
With 2 wives buried already. Well, I've no mind to be the third. Now, there's the bread all kneaded into loaves and ready for the oven. You take care of it and let me take care of who I marry.
Young Sam will bring you nothing but a load of children and a life of work.
Where did you drive the geese this morning?
Into Farron the Hesling's field. There's a ton of pickings for them where they cut the grain last week.
Then I'll go and fetch them back. Mind, don't let that pasty burn now.
Oh, I mayn't approve of your marrying young Sam, but I got too much pride to let a pasty burn. Shoo! Shoo, get her along there, will you? Shoo!
Can I give you any help, young lady?
Oh, how you frightened me. I didn't see you there behind the tree.
I was looking for a place to shelter from the storm. Your geese don't seem to want to go home.
I can't think what's come over them. Every man jack going in different directions. Look at that old gander there, and him been over this path 100 times.
Let me head him off.
Through that gap in the hedge to the right here, that's the way. Shoot! Oh, thank you for your help, sir. I thought I'd never get them home before the storm.
It's coming up fast now.
Would you care to step inside a while and take a cup of tea and maybe something to eat? That's my mother's place just over there.
If your mother wouldn't mind your bringing in a stranger.
I tell her how you helped me with the geese. Them geese are mother's pride.
You send them to market, do you?
Aye. Top price they always fetch, too.
Then perhaps she wouldn't mind giving me a cup of tea and shelter when the rain comes.
That she won't. Mother'll be right pleased to see a stranger. We hardly ever see anybody but ourselves from one year's end to the other. Mother! Mother, are you there?
Yes, here I be.
Here's a gentleman that helped me home with the geese. I've asked him in out of the storm.
Oh, good day to you.
I hope you don't mind my coming in this way.
Not a bit of it. Won't you be taking off your hat and coat and the scarf you've got up around your face? It's nice and warm by the stove, and you'll not have need of them.
Yes. I suppose I'd better take them off. Why? What's the matter?
Oh, nothing. Nothing, sir.
It's my face, eh? If you'd seen it outside, perhaps you mightn't have invited me in. Is that it?
Why, whatever makes you say such a thing? Where's your manners, sir? Fetch the gentleman a chair and wet the tea. I've got some saffron buns in the oven that'll be out in a minute or two.
That's a fine pasty you've got over there. You know, it's years since I had a pasty.
Oh, that's for...
Oh, sister's baked that for a sweetheart. He'll be coming here on his way home from Bodmin.
I see. Nothing would persuade you to part with it, I suppose.
Part with it? But why?
I've just got a fancy for it.
Oh, she's baked it specially for Sam.
Sam? I wonder is he the young gentleman I met a day or so ago down at the Marston Bridge Inn?
A tall young fellow with red hair on him?
That'll be the same. And so, you baked this specially for him? Well. Now, suppose I were to offer you a guinea for it, huh?
A guinea?
Yes, a guinea. You think I'm mad, eh? I paid more than that for a meal in London a score of times, and I'll wager it hasn't been as rare a treat as a pasty baked for Sam by his sweetheart.
Mother...
Why, if you're serious...
I was never more so. Now, is it a bargain?
No.
Don't be silly, Ferris. What's a pasty? And a guinea means a lot to us.
But Sam's coming in the gate now. I can hear his horse's hoofs.
Excellent. Excellent. Here's the guinea. Now let me have my pasty. I'd like nothing better than to have young Sam come in and see me just starting to sink my teeth into his supper. Let me face the door so that I can get a good view of his face. This is going to be good.
You've got some other reason for this. You're trying to get back on Sam for something.
Sparza, what's come over you?
I don't know, Mother, but I don't like this man.
It was you who brought him to the house.
Yes, but it were almost dark outside, and how could I see what he was like with him all wrapped up in a scarf half over his face?
What are you talking about? Anyone would think the gentleman was someone we wouldn't care to ask inside.
You didn't like him either till you see the guinea that he has in his purse. Shame on you, Mother. Is that the way you judge a man?
And shame on ye that you talk to your own mother such a way. Sit you down, sir, beside the fire, and I'll be making you some tea. Ferris, you can go and tell young Sam to come some other time if it's a pasty he's looking for.
What's this? Is it my name I can hear, Mrs. Cole? What? What's that fellow doing here?
Eating your pasty, as you can see.
Sam, come outside with me. I want to talk to you, Sam.
Yes, go along with her, young man. Your pasty's gone, I'm afraid. I bought it for a guinea.
What? Now, Sam Trelawney, don't you go making scenes in this house. I'll not have it, you understand?
Please, Sam, please.
Oh, all right then. But it sticks in me throat to go taking dirt from him.
I hope I won't cause you any serious trouble between your daughter and her admirer, Mrs. Cole.
It won't be troubling me too much if he never darkens the door again.
Don't you like him?
Oh, he's well enough. But she's thrown herself away on him, and that's the truth of it.
In what way?
She could do better for herself than Sam, if she'd a mind to.
So she has more than one admirer, then?
Oh, my Ferris is the prettiest girl for 30 miles around. She could take her pick. Even Josiah Wallace would wed with her, and him with the finest farm in the district and 3 houses and a ship in Bodmin.
quite a match.
That fair makes me mad to think of that young Sam standing in a way, and that's the truth of it.
So you wouldn't be sorry if he was removed?
Oh, I don't wish him any harm. But I don't want to see my girl wed to a poor man the same as I was.
Well, we'll have to see what we can do. We'll have to see.
I'm not saying that the widow Cole weren't a lot to blame for what happened. Fair daft she must have been to be took in by a scoundrel like Hyde.
But was she taken in?
Aye, there you be right. She were dazzled by his guineas, if you be asking me. And the good Lord knows he had a power of money in his purse.
Papa, there's your shooter yourself sitting there dancing half the night. What's going to get him and me?
Oh, hold your noise, woman. The doctor wants to hear all about young Sam and that feller Hyde. Don't you, sir?
Yes. Let me hear it all.
Well, as I was saying, the widow Cole were fair dazzled by his guineas. Brazen it were, and at her age, too. You could have knocked me down with a feather when he moved his traps out of this here inn and went off to live with them. He did, too. You know, he went off from the inn on their invitation.
And how did the rest of the village take it?
Oh, it were open scandal, so it were. When she began to wear them flash clothes, bought, if you please, at Josiah Wallace's store in Bodmin, where things reached a pretty pass. The poor lass Thurzer could scarce hold up her head.
Mother, you're never going to church in clothes like that.
And why not? Isn't it time I had something decent to wear instead of the old rags I've had to put up with all my life?
But, Mother, what'll folks be saying?
They'll be saying that fine feathers make fine birds, no doubt. Well, let 'em, as long as the feathers be on my hat.
Oh, you can't. Mother, what's come over you? How can you do such things?
What things?
Take presents from Mr. Hyde. Don't you know what folks be saying?
Let them. I've wanted nice things all my life and never had a chance of getting them. Do you think I'm going to pass them by now because of a lot of wagging tongues? Put on your bonnet and let's be getting off. Parson don't like it if folks comes late.
I'll not be going with you.
What's that?
You heard.
Put on your things this minute, or do I have to fetch you a slap across the ear to remind you I'm your mother?
It'd take more than that to make me know that the woman standing afore me now, dressed in them clothes that she got in such a way as any mother of mine.
Take that for your farce. It's no use blubbering like that. I'll have no child of mine give me a lip while she's living in my house.
Very well, then. I'll go.
You'll what?
Either that man Hyde goes or I do.
And who are you, miss, to set yourself up in judgment of your mother?
Would you be asking me to condone the things I knows are going on? Do you think I'm blind and deaf?
I'll be asking you to mind your own business.
What my mother does and what folks say about her is my business. And if I can do aught to bring you to your senses, I'll do it.
You'd be a deal better advised to come to your senses yourself. Look at the fine length of silk he brought you home 2 days ago. And what did you do with it?
Put it in the fire. The same as I'd burn any other of the devil's things he brings into the house. That man's a fiend. There's not been aught of happiness or peace or good about the place ever since the first minute he set foot here. Didn't he and Sam get into Holt's right away on account of the way he beat the poor dog?
And what's that got to do with you and me? Has he ever said a word that's out of place or been anything except a perfect gentleman the whole time he's been stopping here with me?
And have we done anything but quarrel and have ill feeling between us? Us has lived peaceable all these years. And will Sam come about the place when there's any danger of coming face to face with him?
Maybe in time to come you'll be grateful to him for that.
If you think you'll get me to marry Josiah Wallace that way, is that the reason that you had him here to stay? Because you knew it'd cause trouble between me and Sam?
I had him here because he offered to pay me good money for the room. And I was sick of sweating and slaving on the farm for every penny I got. And right glad I was of the chance of getting some easy.
What a pleasant domestic scene. Mother and daughter exchanging a few home truths.
You devil, you
but perhaps you could reveal some hidden meanings to this pretty scene.
Look at her. Is she the same woman that you saw when you first came here?
Not exactly. But I can't say that the change isn't for the better.
Can't you? Do you think she's better in them clothes and that hat, and her face all painted and powdered? Oh, how can you? How can you? Why did you want to come and bring such sorrow onto us? What can you want? We're making a fool out of her.
I have my own peculiar methods of enjoyment.
I haven't never hated anyone in all my life before. But I hate you so much that I could take this knife and stick it into that black heart of yours. So true as heavens above, I could. Stop it! Stop it, I say!
So, you meant it, did you? You tried to stab me.
Don't. Oh, let me go, let me go.
Not till you get down on your knees and beg my pardon and say you're sorry.
I won't. I'm not sorry. I wish I'd killed you.
I'm very strong. I can break this wrist of yours. I shouldn't like to have to do it, but I will.
Oh, let her go. Let her go. Don't do that.
Get out of my way, you rattle fool. And now, my pretty little vixen, will you get down on your knees and do as I say?
No, I won't. I hate you.
That's better. Now we're getting to it. Down you go, both knees. Now, your head on the ground. Right down until it touches my boots.
No.
Then one twist more and that should be enough. I thought it would be. Now say you're sorry and I'll let you go.
I'm sorry.
You're a nice, kind gentleman, and I'm grateful for what you've done for Mother and myself.
You're a nice, kind gentleman, and I'm grateful for what you've done. Oh, let me go. I can't stand the pain.
Sorry, say the rest of it. Come on, say the rest of it for Mother and myself.
For Mother and myself.
That's right. Now I'll let you go and you can get up.
Don't touch me. Don't touch me. You're as bad as him. I never want to see either of you as long as I live.
Elsa, where be you going?
Let her go, let her go. She can't go far. She hasn't either clothes or money.
Oh, how could you do it to her? She's right. You are a fiend. Oh, how could I ever have had anything to do with you?
Because you're a contemptible, money-grabbing, unscrupulous hag.
Where are you going?
To pack my things. I've had enough of simple village life. You and your charming, though regrettably straight-laced daughter have begun to bore me.
You can't. You can't just go off and leave me like this.
What gave you the idea that I'd do anything else? I'll admit it may be a little unpleasant for you. After all, I imagine that your neighbors must have a very fair idea as to the source of your sudden prosperity. But that will pass, along with the prosperity. You'd try to stab me, would you? Allow me, my dear. Good. I'm glad I didn't have to use the same harsh methods I was forced to adopt about Thurza. And now, while I think of it, I believe I'll have that ruby ring off your finger. It belonged to my father. Can't imagine what made me give it to you.
Well, you've got your ring. Now get out of this house at once.
As soon as I've got my things, with the greatest of pleasure.